Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Take the Black Live, the one and only show on the internet where we dare to talk about the important topics like space lasers and dragons and books and movies and television. I am Dan Selcke, host of the editor of winnerscoming.net. I'm here with Mia Johnson, the editor of dorksideoftheforce.com. And if you like what we have to say, you can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, wherever podcasts are available. Mia, how are you doing on this pre-recorded episode of Take the Black Live?
Yeah, we're coming to you all from the past. I'm doing pretty good. We're getting to that point now. It's actually light outside, but in my place it looks dark, and it's only like 4 o'clock.
It does look dark.
I am not. Well, I've got the lights
good.
On. But
Gotcha.
I'm not looking forward to this time of year where, it's just starting to, every day it's like you get less and less sunlight.
Well, these past 2 days have been bizarrely warm, haven't they? I don't know what to do with myself. I'm wearing short sleeves and shorts and flip-flops. It's like fine.
Well, what's the temperature right now? It says is about, 73, unless it hasn't updated in a minute. But yeah, it's been a bizarre. I think this just goes to show how bizarre this year has been. It's like Mother Nature's and 73 degrees in November.
Yeah. But whether it's warm or cold, we are indoors watching television and movies and such. And there's some good stuff coming out right now, Mia. We know that Mandalorian is on, and over the weekend on Over the Pond, His Dark Materials, the HBO program based on Philip Pullman's fantasy His Dark Materials beloved book trilogy, premiered its second season. The City of Magpies premieres called. I watched the show the first season. I liked it. Didn't love it, but I liked it. I like the books a lot. And I watched the premiere, and I just want to talk about it for a second to give you the lowdown, the 411. All right. The show is good. Like, this is an HBO BBC co-production show. His Dark Materials about kind of like it's a fantasy book. You got like kind of like a steampunky fantasy world, and we're at the point now where they're crossing between universes. Like, our universe is a thing, and Will Perry's from it, but then the other universe is all steampunky, where Lyra's from, and now the two characters have like crossed in and met in the middle in Chittagazze. It might be how you pronounce the city where they meet. This is good stuff from the books. This is The Subtle Knife, which I think is probably the best book in the series, and it was solid. My problem with the series in the first season was that they kept adding stuff they didn't need to add from the books and kind of bloated it up. Yeah. Like, the first book follows Lyra, who is Daphne Keene, the little girl from Logan and stuff from that. She's solid. She's not amazing, but she's solid. But they kept like doing other stuff, and I don't know why. They were like, let's follow this boring character who has like a line in the books so we can fill up our episodes, I guess. It's already better because the second book is like denser and richer and like has more stuff for characters to do, so it doesn't feel as forced immediately. And it's a lovely show to look at. Very kind of relaxed. The whole series is kind of like fantasy, but like chill. Like Lord of the Rings. It's epic, but the characters are like gonna stop to have tea every once in a while. That kind of feeling.
So not like very high intensity sort of thing.
It's not a Game of Thrones thing. Although they did add in some like some torture scenes in this where she tortures a witch.
Oh no.
Ruth Wilson's Mrs. Coulter. I mean, that happens in the book. I just read it, but they got creative with the show adaptation. But it was solid. I think it was. I liked the first season. I thought it finished with its strongest note, and now they have the good book to adapt. So I think if they just keep that up, it'll be good. It's a good show. It's not like a great show because like Lin-Manuel Miranda is playing a Texan aeronaut, and it just. I mean, he's a good actor, but it just doesn't quite work.
Yeah. I don't mean to dispute
He's like in
that.
a cowboy hat saying like, "Oh shucks," I'm like, I don't believe you.
Sometimes I even wonder though, and I do love Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I do too.
I'm not so sure if I've liked. Maybe it's just his selection of roles so far. Hamilton, I've only seen basically off of Disney Plus. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sold with him in the Mary Poppins, because I think that he was trying to do a Cockney accent.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working out. So it's kind of like maybe these roles are working against him. Like, it's like, yes, Lin-Manuel Miranda is awesome, but you can't shove him into every single role and just expect gold. You know, you kind of have to work with his strengths.
He maybe shouldn't do accents, because it doesn't seem to be like his real strength.
Yeah.
Like, he's fine, and Lyra's good, and the kid who plays Will, the other kind of main child character, Amir Wilson, is very good, maybe the best. Ruth Wilson, who was on Luther and a bunch of other stuff, like the redhead, is great as the malevolent, evil mother, Mrs. Coulter. She's really, really good. And they got James McAvoy in there as her father, Lord Asriel, although I think he's cut from the season. Okay,
yeah, I was like, that was kind of a big name to have in there,
That's like the biggest one.
Yeah.
So far, so good. I like the series. I like the books. It like hasn't like felt as like palpitating as I think it should. But then again, the books again like are kind of chill in the first place. Maybe that's not the way it goes. I just hope it's less bloated this time around. And so far, I think it is. Okay, are you interested at all, Mia? This ring any bells for you?
It's still not selling me,
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, Texas Lin-Manuel Miranda, I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin. No.
Apparently, they're like really big in Britain, the books. They're like the Lord of the Rings of Britain, although Lord of the Rings is British too. Whatever. Anyway, it's a fine show. And if you're wondering why we're not talking to your comments, we are pre-recorded. I'm sorry about that. Anyone who's watching us live.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mia, I think we're both also watching The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. What'd you think of the second episode, The Passenger?
Yeah. Well, last week we had this conversation about, is The Mandalorian too slow? And this is something I'm still trying to grapple with because it is just so foreign to me now. Basically, this was, if you want to call it a filler episode, sure, it has all these, any sort of name. But, it was an episode where the Mandalorian and Baby Yoda are still trying to find Mandalorians. But in order to do that, they had to pick up this frog woman and escort her on his ship to another planet.
Did she have a name? Or was it just Frog Lady?
It was literally just Frog Lady.
Okay.
Yeah. Just like, they are really vague on the names, the child, the armor, the client. I kind of like it. It's
Yeah, it's fine with that. The frog woman.
And so basically the whole episode was them trying to have safe passage to this planet. They end up getting sidetracked by the Rebel Alliance, and then they crash into this cave, and there's a bunch of giant spiders. They defeat the spiders, and that's the episode, basically, in a nutshell. Another monster of the week. Yeah.
Oh, the monsters were good. Like, the show never seems on visuals. Like, those spiders are pretty freaky. Like, Lovecraftian ice spiders, biggest hounds. They remind me of, like, the Game of Thrones kind of legends, ice spiders, biggest hounds. And they're spooky. I mean, like, the little, what do you call that? Like, a weird alien kind of snout mandible tooth thing. I will agree that this episode was, I mean, I loved, like, the first one told like a full story. Like, there was a full arc for Cobb Vanth. You met him, you learned his backstory, he learned a lesson about working with Tusken Raiders. Like, there was a whole thing, and they killed a giant monster. Here was more, you're right, it did feel a little more filler, like they had a little scrape and no one really learned much of anything.
Yeah.
I did like, I mean, there are some very cool bits. It's cool that, like, the New Republic are basically cops being like, pull over, sir. Can I get license registration? Am I supposed to be with you?
Yeah.
That was cool. I thought that was fun.
Yeah, and that was Dave Filoni as one of the pilots. That was a nice little cameo, which I didn't know what he looked like. So when I found out the next morning, I was like, oh, okay. Nice to see him there.
Yeah.
But yeah. I agree. It's filled with its moments, like Mando trying to escape and they're like, not so fast, and then getting his butt. I like that, mic drop by the Rebel, New Republic, when he was like, why don't you help me patch up your ship? And they're like, why don't you fix your comms so we don't have to pull you over again? It's like, oh. So it's like, for me, there is a lot of good writing here. There is a lot of good storytelling here. But
like
I think
Mando just like said, may the force be with you. Like,
yeah, I love that.
He never said that, but like he knows, these cops are like that, so I better play along.
Yeah, I love that. I don't know. So Oh, also the Baby Yoda moments too. Those were some really cute Baby Yoda moments, and I feel like we never really. He eats little creatures. We've seen that before with the frogs, and so I like seeing Baby Yoda be a little more curious. And I guess to me that did feel like hey, let's really put him front and center this episode.
Oh, totally.
But again, still not a lot of substance because they really left you off on that cliffhanger. I thought they were at least going to make it to the planet at the end of the episode, and then you leave off on that cliffhanger. They're like, no, you just have to wait till next week.
I mean, I wouldn't call it a cliffhanger because I mean, like, it's not like they what will happen next week. Like, they'll be fine. They're in like a junky kind of spaceship and it's going to use repairs, but they'll be fine in the cockpit, getting cozy. I don't know whether they're going to shower or use the bathroom, but whatever. That's probably going to be between episodes. I liked it, but you're right. It was less substantive than last week, which again, I didn't mind that the last one stood alone because it was like a full thing. This one kind of felt more like they were on their way somewhere, and it was fun to watch them, but it's not quite complete yet. Yeah.
Now, Google they were reliable last week with the chapter synopsis, even though it wasn't what we thought it was, because they tricked us, but the synopsis was still correct. So the chapter 11 synopsis is out.
The synopsis is right, but not the title.
Yeah, the titles I'm completely throwing out. I'm like, that was junk. So it's like some rumors you can take, some you can't. Right. Chapter 11 synopsis says the Mandalorian braves high seas and meets unexpected allies. So I'm like, is this going to be the episode? It has to be the boat episode.
It's got to be. It better be.
And
then they're like going through like all like the terrain. We got desert, we got ice, we got water. I guess they're just going to keep doing that until we go through, lava world, giant world, and so on and so forth until he beats Bowser.
Oh yeah, having fun. And they can do whatever they want because they've got that big giant screen that they film on. They can be pretty much, anywhere in the galaxy, quote unquote. But this one, it looks like episode 11 is going to make some progress. If they're meeting allies, it sounds like there's going to be some progression there. So
cool.
I'm hopeful for that.
I did love Frog Lady hopping around as they ran. That was great. That was my favorite bit.
Yeah. And they brought back, oh my goodness, Richard Ayoade from IT crowd to be the voice of the robot that he salvaged. So
and Amy Sedaris is a full-on supporting character.
I know. Yeah.
I love Amy Sedaris from way back, from Strangers with Candy days. Like, I think she's great. And I think it's wonderful that she has a bit part in the biggest Star Wars series ever to be made. So good for you, Amy Sedaris.
Keep it up.
Keep it up. All right. Any other comments about what you watched? Watch anything else?
You know what? I legitimately tried to watch The Expanse over the weekend.
Yeah.
The first episode did not to say it didn't make a lot of sense to me. It was kind of not, I really didn't have any expectations, but it just didn't catch me the way I thought it would. Maybe I'll force myself to watch another episode, but it didn't really seem to establish like what they were trying to set up for the season. I was like, what are they getting at? There's a lot going on. So I know they're going on like season 5. So I'm like, there has to be something that has people coming back for more. I don't want to just bash it after watching one episode.
Go ahead.
But I didn't really get the first episode. So I don't know. I wanted to report back on that because I had, we were talking so much about it that I was like, I'll give it a little bit of a chance. But now, we'll have to see if I keep going.
I will say, I'm in the middle of season 2 now, and only now do I actually want to watch the next episode. It took me like a full half year of like watching one. Let's try another one of The Expanse, like every few weeks out of obligation. But I will say now, middle season 2, I'm actually kind of like, oh, what happens to her or him next? So I'm actually into it a little bit now, but it took a while to get to a point.
Yeah, I wonder if that's the reason it picked up, and then that's kind of why people started getting hooked.
I mean, some shows do that, Some shows have like crappy first seasons, and again, not crappy, but I don't know, like first seasons that maybe don't live up to their full potential, and then they kind of gain steam as they go along.
Yeah.
And something like The Mandalorian, where you're right hot out of the gate.
Yeah, it almost gave me the feel of oh my goodness, the one where the people are stuck on the train, Snowpiercer. I don't know why. What it was kind of the same, like society. They're all kind of, if you're on that planet, you're kind of stuck in there, and there's no place to go. I just don't. I don't know. So I'll still keep my eye on that. Maybe there's hope that I can push through. to season 2.
We'll check back in some time. All right, before moving on, I forgot to say that in His Up Materials, the girl who plays Lyanna Mormont, Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones, is one of the Lord of the Flies type rambunctious children. Because the whole thing is they're in a city with no grown-ups. Because they were all taken by the specters. And they'll get into that later. Yeah, she goes full Lord of the Flies, I believe. That'll be fun. Anyway, speaking of Game of Thrones, Lyanna Mormont, Bella Ramsey, we have a little Game of Thrones corner here. Because guess what, Mia?
Oh, what's up?
A Song of Ice and Fire author George R.R. Martin, pictured here wearing a hat, wrote some more things. Photo. Hey, look, I figured like if we're gonna do this again and talk about George R.R. Martin once again saying like I'm working on the book and that's it, I might as well find a cool picture of him with a funny hat on.
All right, go ahead.
Because, okay, I just swiped, didn't I? George R. R. Martin wrote about the Winds of Winter, how it's going along, and, I mean, I struggled to make this story entertaining. Like, he said he's doing it, but it's not done. Like, that's always what he says. He says, it's still not done, but I do inch closer. It's a big book. I try not to dwell on that too much. I write a chapter at a time, a page at a time, a sentence at a time, a word at a time. It is the only way, and sometimes I rewrite. Of late, I've been spending a lot of time with the Lannisters, Cersei and Tyrion in particular. I've also paid a visit to Dorne and dropped into Old Town a time or 3. And, I mean, it kind of goes out like that. He says that he, is revisiting older chapters, rewriting, which is something he does. I'm not sure a lot of writers do that. Like, a lot of writers kind of, the Expanse writers, for example, they outline and then they write and they don't really look back. Martin does this weird thing where, like, he writes his books and then halfway through, if he like, I want to change everything about chapter 2. He just does it. And then he has to like change everything that means chapter like 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11.
Oof.
I haven't heard of that being done a lot, honestly, among writers, but that's the way he does it.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach. I do know that as, a creator, whenever you're writing or just doing anything, the more you get into it, you're like, this latest work is the best because I'm finally doing and getting into it. And then when you look back at the first stuff, like maybe the first chapters or how you started, you're like, oh, this was really awful. How could I have written that? There's no substance to it. It's not as strong as my first stuff. So maybe that's how he's feeling. Maybe. I don't know.
It's hard to tell. I mean, we're not going to spend too much time on this because, again, it's pretty much the same thing as always. It's coming along. It's not done. He's picking up steam. He says House of the Dragon, the Game of People show, is the casting. All looks very exciting, which is good. So that show's going ahead. I'm sure it'll be over and done with before Martin releases his final book in the series.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about it for that. I honestly don't want to spend that much time because
No.
I feel
Breaking
like there's
news,
not a
no
lot
news.
to say. I think you have the same pillow that I have on my couch in my living room. That like red gold embroidery thing.
It's like an orangish red gold, yeah.
I'll bring one in next time. I can't leave now.
Do it, yeah. I've got it from Home Goods, so
very good.
No sponsorship here. Just letting y'all know.
Wayfair. All right. So let's talk about a bit of a serious topic, if you're down for some hard discussion.
Yeah, let's transition.
All right. So I think it was late last week, maybe over the weekend, late last week. Johnny Depp, noted thespian, the star of such films as Pirates of the Caribbean and Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. Decorated career.
Oh, there's very decorated career. He's been embroiled in a scandal for the past 3 years. Basically, his ex-wife Amber Heard accused him of being abusive, and they divorced. Eventually, he came around and accused her of being abusive back. It's very, very messy. He was suing The Sun, a British tabloid, for calling him a wife beater in an article, and he lost. Basically, the judge said, I believe the testimony of Ms. Heard. That's an accurate term. It's not libelous or slanderous. I forget which one is which.
Yeah.
So he lost, and immediately after that, apparently that loss was the straw that broke the camel's back at Warner Brothers, and they asked him to resign from his role as the evil wizard Gellert Grindelwald in the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them series. So this Okay, first question first. Just what's the reaction to that? Good move, bad move, inevitable move. They should have done this like a year ago move.
Yeah, it was surprising, and I think Fantastic Beasts. Either it could have been way back when the first movie started, whenever their whole, lawsuit and divorce, allegations started coming out.
Yeah.
But I do remember, as long as Johnny Depp was cast in Fantastic Beasts from the beginning, people were very questioning of him being in this movie.
I was. It might have been even before, like, the scandal even broke. We're like, really?
Yeah, because I think there was something about, I literally just read where J.K. Rowling a while ago had defended the casting choice, and she was like, we're going to continue to keep him. Like, they did 2 movies with him, and they were right into filming the third one.
Yeah.
And they got a lot of heat for that. That, now it's taken them this long to act.
Yeah, I think that the third one filming, was when they already knew, a lot of the facts had come out. I mean, I will say, I don't remember if the scandal had broken when the first one hit theaters. I honestly don't remember. I do remember being in the theater. I watched, I didn't see the second one. Mm-hmm. And he's only in the first one for, a brief second. At the very end. And when he showed up, people in the theater laughed. Just because...
Really?
Yes, I'm not kidding. It was like a... What? What is Johnny Depp doing here? It was kind of distracting right from the get-go. Yeah. And this is, before any of the scandal stuff hit. So it was always a weird decision. And then after all that happened, I don't know. Frankly, it seemed like a good idea to maybe maneuver things earlier than this. Mm-hmm. And... also, this franchise might be the most scandal-prone franchise currently in the movies.
Yeah.
I mean, every movie franchise is in hot water right now because of COVID and everything. Although, let's cross fingers for that vaccine, I guess. Hopefully that goes well. I'm certainly hoping for it. We have Johnny Depp embroiled in an abuse scandal and fired 2 movies out of 5 movies in. And are they going to recast him? Are they going to rewrite it? I have no idea. I mean, actually recast. They have to. He's the villain. So they have him being fired. They have J.K. Rowling, who earlier this year got into huge hot water by, I'll say it again, basically becoming the leader of the anti-trans movement around the world and declaring herself an out and proud transphobe in the most bald terms possible. Not little hints. Here's everything I think in voluminous detail about it.
Yeah.
To the point where it's really hard to give the benefit of the doubt anything anymore. And then the movies themselves have been they still made money, but the second less than the first. And apparently they're really bad. They were reviewed horribly. Nobody liked them. So so here's a question. All this is going on. What about the option of just maybe we could just stop? Maybe just don't make more.
Yeah, that's the thing is I was never on board for the first movie anyway. And I love Harry Potter. I'm pretty, decently big Harry Potter fan. In the first episode or movie rather, I was so disappointed because it just failed to grasp my attention at any minute.
Okay, I saw it. I mean, and folk like it a lot more than the second one, which I did not see.
Which is interesting though, because
it wasn't I gotta see the sequel to this. It was just that was, I guess it was okay.
Yeah. I did enjoy the sequel a little bit more and enjoy, when we're comparing the two. It's not by that much more of a margin. I think they did introduce a better story and a better mystery.
Okay.
But my problem was with the second movie is that they saved the biggest, most compelling, most interesting part for the very end. And that one literally you left off on a cliff. Well, not literally on a cliffhanger, but figuratively on that cliffhanger. Sure, because there was this mystery about Dumbledore and about Grindelwald and, can they defeat each other? And, Ezra Miller's character, too, who he had that whole video scandal come out where he was either in a fight with a fan, or it was just looking really ugly for Ezra Miller too at a point in his career. So yeah, definitely very sort of messy franchise, and I have never really been in favor of this being a 5-part series. I think that's overdoing it. I think 3 would be enough. They did The Hobbit in, was it 3 or 4?
It was 3, and it was bad.
3. Yeah. Yeah, even that was overdoing it. So,
like, and of course, The Hobbit's a great story, but you managed to kill it dead.
Yeah. So it's like, especially because there is no, Harry Potter was adapted. You had all 7 books, almost like Game of Thrones, right? You had something to go off of with this.
Yeah. I mean, like, it's 7 kind of books, make me out of every book.
Yeah, you're making it up on the fly. And now you have to deal with, okay, Johnny Depp is stepping down. I think the story is worth recasting him just because it was really hinging itself on, it like moved away from Eddie Redmayne and his character, and it was more about what's up with Dumbledore and Grindelwald, which is kind of interesting because Newt was supposed to be the main character, but now I'm just like, I'm spiraling.
Okay, so do you think that it's worth recasting, moving on, or might you join the people who are just saying, like, why don't we just stop? Just like cut our losses, call it a bad Harry Potter spin-off series, and move on with our lives.
I think Warner Brothers can go ahead. I would like to see them maybe just have this be the 3rd and final movie. Okay. Honestly, I think that's kind of a nice meeting in the middle to me, because I would love to see this plot line get resolved. It was really interesting, and I hated that it was going to take so long for me to find out. But yeah, at the same time, it's like it is getting really muddled, and all these things are
only
just really weighing it down. Yeah.
I mean, talk about hubris, really. I mean, just it's like you said, like The Hobbit at least had a book to stretch out until you killed it. Like here, they really want to go like, we want to make 5 freaking movies. Yeah. Take a weekend, come up with something. Like, oh my God, they had nothing. Like, try to just make a movie and see if it hits, then make a sequel to it. Or if it has something like have a base of some kind. It was, this always seemed a little doomed to fail. Yeah, and that's reminding me of Star Wars, because with the sequel series at least, everyone's biggest problem was there was no game plan. Game plan was like the word of the week for, especially by the time we got to The Rise of Skywalker, because it really felt like they were all making it up on the fly. And we had 2 different scripts for episode 9, the Colin Trevorrow script, and then the J.J. Abrams and whoever he had partnered up with. So it was really like that, there was no basis to create your story on. You didn't have a roadmap. You didn't have this thing to plan it out. And that's, to me, kind of feels as well where the Fantastic Beasts go on. It just goes to show you, I think a lot of studios are saying, like, let's make money and then figure out what to actually sell later is what it feels like. And it feels like a lot of the time. Yeah. All right. So that's a disaster. And we didn't even mention the $10 million that he still gets to walk away with because of his contract. Just kind of makes me a little mad. I mean, I know that's how it works, but okay. I don't want to get too political or anything, but no, don't get $10 million for filming one scene that's not even going to be used. I'm sure you already have $10 million. On something they were like, there could have been something like a morality clause that maybe could have. Because, there wasn't. I was like, I've never heard of that before. Most big name actors don't have to have one, which is bizarre. Like, it's like, I have a lot of power, so I don't want to be bounded by good decision making or morality. Yeah. and I'm famous enough and rich enough to get away with that. I mean, it's kind of insidious, really. Yeah. I mean, morality clauses in general sound a little creepy, but so does getting out of them by having a lot of money. And just gonna get more money through this. The whole thing is kind of gross. Yeah, I can just cut our losses and run. But for Harry Potter fans out there, keep the faith, I guess. Hang on. But something way cooler, Mia, than the movies that are based on a non-existent book is a book written by someone that we both know very personally. Why don't you take this, Mia? Who am I talking about?
Wow. Well, that person that we both know is me. So, yeah, big surprise. I had this secret project that I was working on. And I'll cut right to the chase. It's a commemorative book for Chadwick Boseman called Chadwick Boseman, Forever Our King. And yeah, it's one of those things where, it's a bittersweet thing to be approached to write. Mm-hmm. But, I was happy to know that I had this opportunity to honor him. So what it is it's a book, also sort of like a magazine. There's tons of pictures about his life as an actor. Being in Marvel, of course, was one of my favorite things to write. And yeah, it's just a beautiful look back at his life, and all the things that he done, up until his unfortunate death a little earlier this year. So that is actually out now. You all can get it. It's on Amazon. It should be on bookshelves too. Really soon. I worked cool. with our publisher to kind of, make sure they're really good at this too. Triumph Books, to make sure that it hits shelves. It could hit Target. And apparently our beloved Josh Hill already got a copy before me. He was reading it this Sunday, and I was like, I haven't even gotten my shipment yet. So it's out there somewhere. Y'all can go grab it.
That's very, very cool. How did it come together? How did that happen?
Yeah, so Triumph Books is an indie book publisher out here in Chicago. They are literally like around the corner from our fan-sided office. And there is an editor who worked with Fansided previously. Now she works there. Oh, and awesome. She, was able to help recommend me to be a writer for this, project that they were doing. So I wrote this thing in like 2 weeks. It was a really quick turnaround to get like 15,000 words out.
What was that like at nights?
Yeah, I was writing at nights. And I'm a night owl anyway. So I think I would be doing like the midnight to 3 a.m. shift. Trying to, write and do all my research. And it's amazing. Like, you think you know everything about somebody until you really start digging down. You're like, oh, wow, I didn't know that he had all these roles and that he worked with all these people. So I found out a lot of stuff about him, and I, hope everyone else finds out a lot of stuff about him too. So I wish I had a copy of it to hold up, but
so do I. We should have got in there.
I'll have to break into Josh Hill's apartment to hold up a copy. Don't quote me on that one, though. I'm a clean author. I'm a nice author.
Breaking into Josh Hill's apartment.
But yeah, so I'm super excited that it's finally out. This was back in September when I started writing it, so it's a long, long publishing process.
Yeah, incredibly cool. Chadwick Boseman, Forever Our King, out now on Amazon and wherever books are sold, maybe.
Yes, if there's requests, then maybe I'll do the audiobook as well. We've got this nice mic. I'll do some ASMR.
Very nice. Hey, is there anything else before we head out, Mia, that you want to touch on?
No. Oh, Entertainment Weekly had that awesome WandaVision feature. They didn't reveal a date for that, though. They
did not, no, which is a little weird, right? I mean, we know it's in December, but I mean, what's the holdup? I mean, I know when they did The Mandalorian, it was kind of this big too. I don't know if they had a date reveal for that. So I'm sure it'll be coming soon. So it was really cool. They had some pictures. They had interviews. It's very cool. That show looks still off the hook and bizarre and kind of risky in the best way. Like the very first Marvel Cinematic Universe television show is going to be a sitcom, like time-hopping sitcom-themed intimate comedy that's like parodying I Love Lucy and Leave It to Beaver and Full House, which are which are things like I'm sure that a lot of people who are into Marvel movies don't even know about.
Right.
And like it's risky, it's weird. And I mean, I'm sure there'll be more to it. I'm sure there's a reason why all that's happening. But it looks like they throw you in the deep end, which is going to be a fun thing to puzzle out. And it seems like animated by a real passion for that kind of old sitcom TV show. And
they said it was filmed in front of a live audience. Or I'm assuming at least the segments where it's on the, I was like, whoa, they, audience obviously had to sign an NDA and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm incredibly intrigued. So yeah, I am all over WandaVision. Totally watched that. Looks interesting. Looks bold. And I mean, it's proof that even within a company like Disney, you can still be a little creative and get a little fun. Which, I mean, is kind of Kevin Feige's whole thing, right? Like, working within, like, there's no bigger machine than the Marvel Cinematic Universe in terms of you have to hit all these, like, markers, and you have to manage these, like, 86,000 characters across 50 films. I'm sure there'll be more by this time in a couple of years. But finding ways to, like, be creative in that. And he seems to just really maneuver that really well. And this is a good example of that.
Oh, yeah. What's your secret, Kevin Feige? Let us know.
Well, apparently he watched, like, old, like, Nick at Night things, Me Too, things before work, old sitcom episodes, which is what made him happy throughout the day. So when we meet here next week, people who are watching, maybe try that, see if it improves your mood. I'll try it too. And we'll be back next week, next Wednesday, with more news, reviews, impressions of things we're watching, takedowns of, beloved public media figures, discussions of authors who may or may not give us them up if we've heard before, space lasers, dragons, sci-fi, fantasy, TV, movies, books. It's all here. It's all happening on Take the Black Live. See you next week, Wednesday at 4 p.m. live on the Winter is Coming Facebook page and YouTube channel. Goodbye and have a wonderful night.
Bye.